what I want to talk to you about is the writer's strike. And I don't know how tuned into it you guys are right now, how, like, separated from it, if you even, like, have any clue what's going on, because there has not been a lot of media about it. So I just wanted to get you guys looped in. So the basics of what's going on is that every 3 years, the WGA, which is the Writers Guild of America, and the AMPTP, which is the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, every 3 years they get together and they sign a 3-year contract so that the guild writers will work for the major studios for, like, minimum, like, basic requirements for payment and, like, rights and healthcare and stuff like that. So it's been 10 years since there was a really big deal of a writer's strike, and that's what might be happening very soon. So the WGA and the AMPTP have been at the negotiating table on and off for a couple months now. They're just trying to come up with a solution that makes both parties happy. Hypothetically, they are close to a deal, but nothing is set in stone yet as of recording this video, probably almost definitely as of when you're seeing this, assuming you're seeing it the first day it comes out, not like 10 years from now, in which case this is not important. It is important. It is important because what's happening between the writers and the producers is going to affect the entertainment industry forever. What they're talking about in these meetings, literally right now, is going to play a role in what happens in the entertainment industry for as long as there's an entertainment industry. So the WGA and the AMPTP have been having these on and off meetings, working out a deal. And in the interim between them, they suspend them so that they can regroup and figure out what they want to put on the table. So between the last set of meetings and the current ones that are happening right now, the Writers Guild held a vote for their eligible members as to whether or not they can authorize a strike, so that they could go to the negotiating table saying that if we do not come to a deal, there will be a strike. People will not keep working. There will be a strike. And they got 96.3% approval from the Writers Guild to authorize a strike, which is a ridiculous number of people. So on May 1st, which is when the current AMPTP WGA contract expires, if there is not a deal that is in ink, that means that on May 2nd, there is going to be a strike, which is not great, especially for people who are about to graduate from film school. So I just wanted to hit the bullet points of what the WGA wants right now so that you have some context for what is happening in these meetings. So the WGA's main points going into these meetings are their healthcare system. Their healthcare is not in a good state. They are in, like, a lot of debt, and if they don't get further assistance from the producers, their healthcare system is going to collapse. So they don't want that to happen, and that's basically priority number one. In that vein, we've got parental leave. Writers are sick of being fired for getting pregnant and birthing a child and then being told that they don't have a job because they took too much time off to birth a human, which is so great. There's also, the rest of this is basically just money stuff and, like, residuals. So you've got the average salary of a writer in the industry has decreased by, the figures vary, but the most commonly cited one is 23%. In the last couple years, they've gone down 23%, while the studios have had a net growth of 26%. So people are a little confused by that math and how that works. There's also issues with season orders and how large and how small they are. 10 years ago, if you got signed on to write a show, you could expect to work for 24 episodes. You would write on 24 episodes, and that gave you a lot of work, a lot of revenue. But the 24 episode television season doesn't exist anymore. It's just gone. There are probably max 16 episodes season orders now, and then the rest are things like Netflix, which orders things in packs of 13, or things like HBO, which order things in packs of 10, and now 8 and 7, like Stranger Things and the new season of Game of Thrones, and it's just getting lower and lower and lower. So for a lot of people see this as not a huge problem, because, okay, fine, you write one show, you go off and write another show, but that's not how things have been working, because production companies keep writers on retainer for months and months and months, and they're unable to work on a new show while the studios are figuring out if they want to order more episodes, which they don't, or if they want to just start a new season right away. And it's just this huge issue where writers aren't able to consistently find work, and they're not working for so long because these short order seasons are preventing them from finding more work or meaningful work or moving on to new projects. The writers are also seeking parity in the way that they're paid for both TV and streaming video services like Netflix and Amazon Prime, because there is none. There's also an issue between cable TV and network TV and what those pay, because writers say that the workloads for a network TV show and a cable TV show are exactly the same, but cable TV doesn't pay as well for arbitrary reasons. And finally, there is this issue amongst screenwriters with these things called single-step deals. So a single-step deal means that you write one draft of a script, and then they hire someone else to write another draft. And that is becoming increasingly a normal trend in the industry. And people are upset about that because they want to write more than one draft of something. Traditionally, you had gotten to write in a two-step deal, which was two drafts and then an additional polishing or whatever on whatever you were handing in. And then the studios could decide from there if they wanted you to continue writing for them. But that's not what's happening anymore. People are now writing one draft, and then the studio says, okay, great, thanks, bye. They hand it off to someone else. So what is at stake with the strike is a number of things, and a lot of them play very well into the Writers Guild's hands because they would be extremely damaging for the producers. And those things are pre-sold ads. Essentially, networks have been selling their ad blocks internationally like months and months and months in advance. So if there isn't content for those time slots, then they have to give back all that money, which is a very big problem. There's the inherent issue of the fact that we're living in this like second golden age of television, and that a writer's strike could end that, especially if it's a long one. And finally, there's also the fact that there's a very special, like very significant relationship between the Writers Guild and the Actors Guild, SAG-AFTRA, in that when the Writers Guild strikes, the actors almost always strike. That's one of the things that made the 2007-2008 strike so significant, is because once the actors were on strike, everything came to a screeching halt. Usually when the writers stop, you can push things through production without a writer, and you have a producer on set who does rewrites, and it's shitty, but the industry keeps moving. But once the actors go on strike, there's no one left to make the content. It's just the Directors Guild, and directors need actors and writers. So that's that. Part 2. So I wanted, in addition to talking about the writer's strike, I wanted to address some questions that you guys have about internships. It had been brought up early in the semester, so I just wanted to tackle that as best I can. So I'm just going to read some questions, and it's going to be great. It's going to be a fun time. Okay, so Kristen in Boston asks, how early should you start looking at summer internships? What's the best way to follow up with a prospective employer, i.e. emails, calls, etc.? Okay, so looking for summer internships now. That sounded really condescending. But yeah, like right now, I know that my boss is looking at applications like literally right now. Like I literally handed him a stack of resumes today. Yeah, just look for them. They're like in Boston. Look on like entertainmentcareers.net. There are not a ton, in Boston at least, but they're there. You can find them. You can apply to them. You're qualified for them. Just do it. Just do it. It's not hard. One of the things that deterred me most from applying to a ton of internships was like being terrified to write a cover letter and like thing like that's such a process. That's so much work. Once you write like 3 cover letters, for like 3 semi-different positions. You can use those as templates for like literally every cover writer you ever write. Like, I wrote 2 cover letters when I was applying to internships in ELA. I only applied to 4 internships. But I reused cover letters, and I got calls because of those cover letters that I reused. Just fucking do it. But yeah, entertainmentcareers.net is like a pretty solid resource. You can ask, just email someone from career services and they'll like send you links. If you want to apply to internships in LA for the fall, you should have access to Intern ELA, which is a great, it's an excellent resource to find an internship out here. They're all like hand catered by the ELA staff from internship sites that have had Emerson interns, internship sites that really like having Emerson interns, and just sites that are like good places to learn. That's where I found mine. I'm mostly pretty happy. Yeah. So best way to follow up, I would say an email is usually the best way to follow up. Some people will tell you to send a handwritten letter. If you've only like had one email interaction with the person, don't send them a handwritten letter. But yeah, I would say an email is almost always the best way to go, because it's not invasive and it shows that you're still interested. Like, I'm almost positive that the only reason I am at my internship right now is because I sent a follow-up email just to my current boss saying like, hey, do you know when you're gonna figure out who you're hiring? And then like literally half an hour later he was like, hey, call me. And then like the next day he called me back and was just like, hey, do you want this job? I was like, yes, I want this job. James in Boston writes, the gays and how they controlled Hollywood. Not a question. I'd like to point that out. The gays do control West Hollywood, and no complaints. It's a very nice area. Very nice area. Samantha in Boston asks, is the workload at ELA manageable with the internship? Yeah. Like, at the beginning of the semester, it was definitely not easy to, like, work 3 days in a row, 10 hours a day, and then come home and, like, do my fucking VR project. Because, like, I was just empty by the end of those 3 days. But I think that's kind of the point of coming out here, is to just work yourself to death, which you work so fucking hard already. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. The point of coming out here is to just work so fucking hard, and to just, in doing so, realize that over time, like, oh, I'm fine with this. I can work this hard and come home and live my fucking life. I worked 11 hours today. I didn't only work 10. I worked 11 hours today. And then I came home and jotted down a bunch of fucking notes on the writer's strike. And I'm filming this. I couldn't have done that 4 months ago. You know that I couldn't have done that 4 months ago, because I fucking would have been making these vlogs 4 months ago if I could have done that. Siobhan in Boston, not the Netherlands, asks, are internships in LA, do you think people get more value out of interning at a big name company or at a smaller production house? So I had in my BFA workshop like 2 semesters ago, we spoke to this guy. I forget his name. He was an Emerson grad who was like also teaching at ELA at that time, and we just Skyped to him and like talked to him about shit. And he was like, I always have wanted to make short indie movies, and because I always wanted to make short indie movies, I decided to intern at fucking NBC Universal, because it's the biggest fucking company that has ever existed. And he was like, it was definitely an eye-opening experience. I still don't want to make big movies, but it's important to know what that side of the business looks like. And that's just a useless fucking anecdote. But the answer is that there is not an answer to that question. The answer is that only you can decide what that means for you. There is value in both. In going to a giant company, you put that giant company on your resume, and it's impressive. In working at a small production house, you're working very closely with the people around you and making important connections to those people, and this is a shockingly small city, and you'll meet them again, and you'll speak to them again, and bank on the fact that you know them again. I am very fortunate in that I'm at a company that makes AAA movies that also has a staff of 6 people. And that's not entirely true. We're bi-coastal, so we have a staff of like 6 in LA and then another staff of like 12 in New York. But the core of the operation is in LA, and I've gotten to know the people I work with very well. I've gotten to know the TV executive very well. I've gotten to know the production coordinator, who is my direct superior, very well. And like, I've gotten to just spend time talking to the CEO, and who like fucking ran 21st Century Fox for like a while. And he's like this insanely important executive who just like became the executive of this company, like because he wanted to spend more time with his kids. So he just took over this like fucking $1 million company. Yeah, so I get to feel, at least where I'm at, like I'm in a place that is significant to the industry, but also in a place where I can foster meaningful relationships. And there are a lot of places like that. You just need to find them, and a lot of them are conveniently listed on Intern ELA. John Jack, in Would You Believe It, Boston, writes, "What's it like living in a not walkable city?" Fine. It's really, I guess, I'm in a weird position because I can walk to my internship. I don't. I take an Uber. Also, my roommate also works there, and he has a car, so he drives me 2 out of 3 days that I go. But it's not bad, because either you'll have a bunch of friends with cars and they'll drive you places, or you'll have no friends with cars and you'll split Ubers everywhere, and it's fine. You'll get over it. If you don't have a car, you get your $600 parking spot fee back, which is great, and then you can use that to pay for your Ubers, which is what I've done all semester, and I don't think I've used all of it. Andrew in Boston writes, "I'm mainly curious if they're working on adding places to get food on the meal plan." Yeah, we've actually had catered breakfast in our kitchen for the entire month of all the weekdays in April from the place that they are commissioning as the vendor for the Emerson Kitchen, and it's not bad. I don't dislike it. But yeah, food is like, it's not like the most amazing situation at this campus, but also like I would take this system over the fucking DH any fucking day. Camille in fucking Boston asks, "What's the faculty like, and how helpful are they in regards to either learning things you need to know to work in the industry or learning how to work in the industry, etc.?" My VR class was mostly not about virtual reality. It was mostly about my professor's experience in the entertainment industry and like providing whatever like wisdom or whatever he could to us. So he spoke at length all the time in almost every one of our 4-hour classes about either things that happened to him, things that were happening to him, what to expect from the industry, and how to navigate it. He gave us literally, we spent an entire class talking about how to negotiate your salary. He is coincidentally, a significant member of the Writers Guild. Would you believe that? Daniela in Boston asks, how are their services when it comes to finding housing post-grad in LA for students? There was one event to educate students about how to find housing in LA. Apparently it was a very informative event. My girlfriend went. She told me all about it, but I did not go because it was scheduled when I was at work. Which brings me to my final point, which is that for as beautiful as this building and facility is, on the outside, it is run, like, often quite poorly. Like, not that in, like, a horrifyingly bad way. In a kind of horrifyingly bad way. I pay fucking $60,000 a year to go here. But in a way that it's just, like, staff doesn't reply to emails, and it's annoying. And, like, my internship professor, which is a whole fucking... You take a class... There's a class supplementary to your internship where you meet, like, a couple times during the semester to talk about it, and it's just so fucking pointless. Yeah, people don't respond to fucking emails. Literally, one of my roommates wanted to get a vacuum... Every suite is supposed to have a vacuum cleaner in it, and ours didn't. So one of my roommates emailed literally every person who works in this building saying, hey, can I get a fucking vacuum cleaner for my room? And then none of them ever responded. So he fucking emailed Lee Pelton, and magically the next day a vacuum cleaner appeared in our suite, which is a theme that I've discovered. The only way to get something done at EL8 is to email Lee Pelton directly, and that's not a joke. That is literally just, like, a fact. They do seem, to their credit, they do seem, like, very earnest in their desire to, like, improve. So by the time you guys get here, hopefully they have made some changes. I wouldn't say there's a long way to go, but there is a way to go. So that's it. See some of you guys soon. Yeah.